Hello, hello, welcome. We're so excited to have you all here today to talk about enhancing team coordination. So as people are joining, go ahead, take a minute, and we would love for you to introduce yourself in the chat. So a couple of things we want to know from you. Let us know who you are, where you're joining from, and what your role is. We'd love to see that coming through and get some early interaction. All right. And as we let more of our participants in, let's go ahead and kick things off. We're going to start by introducing ourselves to you. I'll start. My name is Tori Fouts, and I manage our LXD team here at Lucid. And my team's main goal is to create content that enables our customers to use the Lucid suite. So for us, a core part of what we actually do is dependent on our ability to collaborate and align with teams across the business. So we learned firsthand how important it is for us to have solid cross-functional coordination. And I am really excited to talk about some of the best practices that we've used to improve how we connect with other teams. Peter, I think I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you to introduce yourself, and then we'll have Jackson introduce himself.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Smith, and I'm a product manager here at Lucid. My work and my team's work really focus on coordination and team coordination features specifically within Lucid. So today's topic is one that I'm pretty passionate about. Some of you may have attended our last webinar on our Lately at Lucid launch. And being a part of that launch gave me a lot of new insight into how teams can really work effectively in Lucid. And so with that, I'll go ahead and pass it over to you, Jackson.
Yeah, thanks so much, Peter. So my name's Jackson Perry, and I'm a senior solutions engineer here at Lucid. Personally, I have such a passion for creating intentional space and really automating tasks. And both of those things are things that are really important to team members today. So I'm so excited to talk about some of the ways that Lucid actually enhances and adds on that, automating duplicative tasks, daily stand-ups, and really just organizing information so that it's easily accessible by everyone.
That's awesome. Thank you both for introducing yourselves. And I'm so excited to see how many people are here on this call and from such different places. Shout out to my California people, where I was born and raised. Nice to have you. Before we get started, I just want to cover a few housekeeping items. First, this webinar is being recorded, so you should receive an email with a link to this recording within about a day or two. It will be sent to the email that you used to register for this webinar. And that email will also include some additional resources, including a blog post and some more information about our team's experience. Second thing, we don't want this webinar to just be us talking at you. We want to hear from you. So feel free to hop into the chat and share your thoughts as we go through the webinar today. If you have any questions specifically for our Lucid team, please use the Q&A section. This will help our Lucid team be able to stay on top of the questions and answer as many as we can. So use the chat for your thoughts, interaction there, Q&A for all of your questions. We do not want to lose those. And then finally, live captions are enabled for this webinar, so you can go ahead and turn those on if you'd like. Okay, so I'll start by saying the obvious. The way the teams work today has changed significantly. We've definitely felt that at Lucid. I know when I started roughly 4.5 years ago, we were in person, and then we switched to remote, and then we transitioned to hybrid. So navigating these changes has been tough, and it's brought us to challenges that require a different set of practices. Peter and Jackson, before I get your thoughts on this, I'd love to hear from our audience. So I'm going to pose this question to you all. What challenges do you face with team coordination? Feel free to drop your answers into the chat. We'd love to see kind of what you're experiencing. See if there's some relatability here. I'm sure a lot of us can relate. Different time zones, remote working, scheduling. Yeah, 100%.
Disengagement.
That's a big one. That's a big one. Remote working, different tool experience. Yes, yes. Siloed thinking. I like
Yeah.
that's a big one. Was that what you were gonna say too, Jackson?
Pop right off.
Okay, these are all good. and so relatable. Dependencies, conflicting priorities. I feel like I've felt a little bit of all of these things. So I want everyone to know here that you are heard. Okay, awesome. Zoom fatigue. Okay, that's a big one. That's a big one. Okay, so these are all great. Thank you so much. Feel free to keep popping those answers in there. Let's look at some of the challenges we've seen from customers. Peter, do you want to dig into some of these that we're seeing?
For sure. And I definitely love seeing all these comments show up in the chat because they're very much also resonating with a lot of the research that our product teams are doing here at Lucid. And it's nice and validating to see, we're along the same path as, where everyone's pains are. But back to the question here. I think a lot of some of the issues we have here, we just have so much technology at our disposal, especially with the entrance of AI today. And while many of these tools are widely helpful, they can also cause confusion and even burnout at times. I think it also sometimes results in documentation being scattered across all these different tools, which makes it hard to find the right information when you really need it. And as a result of this and all this information, progress can stall and workflows really start to collapse after that.
Yeah, all of that resonates. I feel like we're kind of inundated with a lot of noise sometimes, especially in the tooling area, right? And it's like, what do we choose to be most effective? And how does it all work together in a seamless workflow? So that completely resonates. Jackson, I know you have a lot of cross-functional teamwork in your role as you work with other SEs, your AEs, and customers themselves. What are some of the challenges you've specifically seen with teams experience?
Yeah, I mean, all of this is so true. I think the teams are really struggling to communicate effectively across different time zones, working environments, and really just making it hard to align on shared goals. Just kind of given all of that complexity. I also think that like a lot of our tool set has been very traditional in form of communication methods, and they just don't really support this virtual and hybrid environment that we're in today. So teams don't necessarily have the proper visibility into others' tasks, progress, and they're just not able to move as quickly as they need to. I'm frequently seeing that. So creating, more alignment, more virtualized water cooler rooms, that those natural conversations that used to take place in the office and kind of connect that tissue. We need to recreate that in this new world.
100%. And I feel like those communication styles are so different from person to person, and the different platforms to use for that too are changing every day. So all of that resonates. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of changes among teams, which has led to new challenges, while at the same time, we're still dealing with some old ones. But there is one thing that hasn't changed, which is that teams are and will likely always be at the center of our work. So my team specifically is constantly brainstorming, reviewing each other's work, collaborating on new courses and videos. And oftentimes we actually have a system where one of the designers on my team needs to finish one portion of the project in order to pass it on to the next designer to even get further in the project. So when we fall into some of these challenges that we've discussed and we become disconnected or misaligned, our flow is all off. We'll run the risk of duplicating work, and we can run the risk of missing the mark completely on creating content that actually serves the customer's needs. So that's why today we want to spend most of the time discussing how to improve team coordination in today's work environments. With each of us working so often with cross-functional teams, I know we all have some good ideas here, and we're excited to take you into the product to actually show you how Lucid supports this effort. So before focusing on team collaboration, you need to set up a strong foundation. Peter, how do we build that strong foundation?
Yeah, I have found that first you really need to establish a home base for your team. And in our world, a virtual home base is probably the best way to go, right? And this is essential for smooth coordination across your team and across cross-functional teams, whatever type of role you may have. Your home base really needs to be that single source of truth for all things related to your team. from collaboration documents to communication streams and other, general information sharing that just needs to happen amongst the team. There are some key elements to making your team's home base much more effective. It needs to be easy to access from anywhere at any time. That's where using, a cloud-based software really comes into play because that's what it's there for. It should be visual. Forget about those text documents. They have served their role, but people really understand information much faster and much more easily when it's in a visual format. Next, we really want to make it user-friendly. This should be a space your team wants to come, and not just one of those products that is really painful to use that you kind of dread going to every day. And I'm sure we all have one of those sitting in the back of our minds right now as to like, I'm using this because my company says I have to use it. You got to make it interactive. I think many teams are still struggling, especially in this hybrid remote world, to get the same level of interaction and engagement that we naturally had when we were in the office with each other. So this space really needs to provide a real-time interaction for your collaboration. And finally, make sure this home base plays nicely with the other tools that you're using central to your team's work. Choose a platform that integrates seamlessly with your project management tools, your communication tools, whatever it may be. That way you don't really need to, just be in a painful spot, having to click from tab to tab and constantly redoing work to make sure it all is all working towards your team's project.
Yes. Peter, I love how you're tackling these functionality pieces and these usability elements. Because I think at the end of the day, I don't want to have my team working in tools that really create more friction for them or more frustration. We have problems to solve. And, if they're having a hard time interacting with these tools that we have and the usability isn't friendly, we really struggle. So in addition to the usability things that you just shared, I'd also add within your home base, you can keep important information front and center for your team. So things like the team roster with everyone's roles and responsibilities laid out, preferred communication channels, resources, working agreements, and more. When I think about building this home base, in addition to the usability, I think what's key is making sure that the information that's included keeps everyone focused and ensures everyone has access to the right documentation. If anyone has gone through an entire project working off of the wrong document, you know exactly how important this is, or has felt the pain in having to sift through folders of documents. Been there, done that, not for it anymore. And then, of course, we need to bring visibility to the work that's being done and that there is alignment on how the team works together. The good news is Lucid makes this easier than ever to create that home base. So with our recent Lately at Lucid launch centered around teams and team coordination, we have new capabilities that make creating and using your home base second nature. Jackson, will you actually show off some of that new functionality?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say I love that little bento box visual, really just kind of like highlighting key things that we all should be thinking about. It's really, really beautiful. So thanks for sharing that. Honestly, I'm so excited about the team features in Lucid. I've heard from so many customers about, how they're using it, and it's been so cool to see the unique ways that they're building their own, unique water cooler environment. It's really been a game changer for coordinating, common resources that team members need, making it more accessible to new team members. So kind of talking about this new Teams experience, we released a new ability to create a team in Lucid, and I'm going to walk you through that a little bit. So we're going to go into the documents repository and show you how you can create your own team. You simply click on the create new, like you're familiar with, and then there will be an option for team. From there, you'll name the team and then invite any users that need to be a part of that. This is where we're going to store all of your shared documentation. And it also sets up what we call a team space. And a team space is going to serve, perfectly as the home base, really kind of the water cooler environment for resources, dashboards, working agreements, a lot of the things that we've talked about here. But I also do want to cover within the Team Hub, we have some incredible options for organizing content in folders. You have, on-sites and team building exercises, and we need to bring those to life for every kind of knowledge worker, whether they're remote, in the office, different time zones, giving an opportunity to really centralize how we get to know each other, but also better understand, the projects we're working on, being able to support one another. When I think about, building out my team hub, I'll have a section for my culture and team so that we can easily go in there and, share updates about our pups, fun vacations, things of that nature. And of course, we have our daily stand-ups, being able to create kind of a framework so that everyone understands, how we approach kind of these daily stand-ups, and giving people time to really think and gather their thoughts before they join those sessions. Um, there are so many different learning and kind of styles of engagement that giving people the opportunity to process their thoughts and join these sessions really increases engagement, that ability for people to be able to process and familiarize themselves with how we're doing these daily actions. Obviously, team members often have content that they need to use regularly, whether it's for quarterly business reviews or customer presentations. We shouldn't be reinventing the wheel. So being able to centralize that in this team hub has been a huge game changer for my team specifically. But let's talk a little bit more about the team space a little bit. I'm going to pass over to Peter just to talk through that a little bit. We're going to open up the team space and talk about some of the ways that this is impacting teams.
Awesome. Thanks for walking us through that team hub there, that Jackson, and all the other great functionalities that this new Teams features and the team hub has brought to Lucid. As we were building out the new Teams functionality, we were constantly kind of thinking about how these team spaces should really be this primary spot for team coordination. It gets all your team members into a Lucid Spark board where you have access to so many amazing features that foster, collaboration and engagement, from our visual activities and voting to breakout boards and facilitator tools. I see the team space as a place team members should be visiting every single day, honestly, so that everyone stays in lockstep on what work is getting done and understands the priorities, the progress, and so many other important aspects of the team that you need to understand on that daily basis to make sure you're constantly moving forward with your work.
Okay, I love all of that. I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper into all of that, Peter. So now that we have our headquarters set up for our team, now we need to be sure that the team members can effectively communicate, have established ways of working together, and surface the work being done across the team. So we do that by creating norms and clear guidelines. So what does this kind of thing look like, and what do we need to consider putting into the home base? Here are a few components that are important for effective coordination. First one that comes to mind is working agreements. So working agreements are designed to establish the way that the team interacts and are intended to help everyone work more cohesively. So we decide these as a team, we vote on them, we produce them ourselves, and we typically go for areas that we know as a team we need to improve, or they might just be basic guidelines. So things like, how often should we meet? Will it be in person? Is this virtual or hybrid? What is the purpose of each meeting? Where should I give feedback? Is it in the document? Is it in another platform? Comments, sticky notes, what have you? These things are really important to establish. Once we've answered those questions, it's important to stay consistent with the meeting cadence and format so you have that touch point. If you keep changing those things, it's going to make it really hard for the team to kind of follow. You want to establish those patterns. Second thing that comes to mind is roles and responsibilities. So essentially, you should know what seat everyone on the team is sitting in. And I don't mean physically. When blockers or unexpected situations arise, because inevitably they will, the team should know who to address their questions to. So for example, at Lucid, our PMM team has really grown over the years. And anytime that we do a different type of launch, there will typically be a PMM over a particular feature. And when my team goes to make content to enable our customers, we want to make sure that we're connecting with the right people who know the feature and can tell us all the ins and outs about it. Being able to know who is over which feature really makes it easy for us to cut the time and getting to what we need, and it makes the process so much smoother. And situations like this arise all the time where you'll need to know who to touch base with. Project updates. So, as I've said before, one of the core reasons to have a space like this is to make the work the team is doing visible. I can't tell you how many times this has saved my team. Having this section also fosters more effective discussions and invites the team to problem solve together to mitigate risk. This is huge, and I actually feel like this has gone a long way in establishing trust amongst my team. When you gather together, you see all of the blockers, the opportunities, and you collectively come together to decide what the best solution moving forward is. So determine how team members should provide project updates, set those expectations, and hold them accountable. You'll also need to think about that, think about which stakeholders need to be updated and what those updates need to include, because your audience will differ in terms of what information each of them needs. So something to be mindful of there.
Yeah, one of the things I really love about that last tip there when it comes to project updates, especially when we're thinking about a platform like Lucid, is, it really being able to real time collaborate and update, these different project statuses and add updates to this board. It really opens up the doorway for cutting out probably a lot of the meetings people have where it's just updating stakeholders on a consistent basis, because now they have a spot to come and know that that information is up to date. And if they have any questions on it, they can just asynchronously leave that note and you can get back to it without having to, set aside another hour to go ahead and give them another update, right? But I think having established these key norms here, on our product team, we have a new system in place, and this is really similar to what I was just kind of mentioning there. And this is how we go about providing project updates. We have a Lucid Spark board that is really our single source of truth, where every team provides a weekly update. And then leadership, about on a weekly basis as well, goes into this board where they can, one, be caught up to speed, and then two, leave that feedback as to, how the team is progressing, where they have questions, where they want more information. And by them being able to do this all within the board, it makes it so fast and so seamless that it saves our team so much time. And it's been, key to know exactly where, like for us, like where to provide those updates. And from a leadership perspective, it's been really clear for them as to where they know now how to go. Like they know where to go to kind of check if something's been completed or provide feedback to the team as well.
Yeah, I love, a lot of the things you shared there, Peter. I think one thing I want to circle back to here is you'll notice even in our roster on here, we have cross-departmental team members, people that we regularly work with. So building out a team space can also visualize other departments you regularly interface with, really understanding who's over certain sprint reviews, which PMs are partnered with, other teams. Really kind of just understanding kind of the construct of the org allows us all to stay aligned and get information as quickly as possible. With that in mind, another thing that I love, and I think lots of team members here at Lucid love, are our integrations, with Jira. Your ability to be able to convert these kind of ideas into action. You can click on sticky notes or tasks and easily convert them into issues from the canvas, whether it's Jira issue, Azure DevOps, Smartsheets, as you can see, Asana as well. So your ability to create action from these real-time conversations, or even bring in items from external tools. I feel that Lucid really kind of serves. I mean, a hub is such a great name here. It's really the connective tissue for all of our tools. Being able to visualize that and layer over them, have conversations about how we're organizing and planning projects. I think that, also your ability to integrate this with Microsoft Teams, use Lucid's AI to summarize documentation so that people understand what they're about to consume, has been huge. I love it. Sometimes I even summarize my own documents to make sure that visually what I'm trying to convey is clear. So it's really just a great soundboard to make sure that, my visual concepts are really landing. Again, I think, whether you're using Google Meet, Zoom, Slack, we have integrations with all of those tools. And it really allows you to kind of centralize it in a board, whether you're embedding a document and you're opening it directly from the canvas. So some really great potential to kind of bring those resources within the Lucid suite, so that everyone can act on them in one centralized place.
Yeah, I actually use that embed link all the time. I use it religiously. I love having it and where I can expand it in the actual document itself. So I love all those tips and those features. Thanks, Jackson. All right, so we've got our home base and we've established our communication norms. Now for a topic that many teams struggle with, documentation. We all know that it's necessary, but we also know it can be a struggle. So as mentioned earlier, information can live across so many different tools, so many different systems, and sometimes they live in individual team members' folders, which makes it a little bit challenging to get to. Peter, what has your experience been like for your team when it comes to this topic?
Yeah, documentation can be very brutal for product and engineering teams. Not only can they live in, someone's own personal folder, but I'm sure a lot of people can also resonate with the documentation living in one person's specific brain, right? And that never actually fully being documented somewhere. But yeah, teams, we really want to spend our time discovering and building new functionality, right? And documentation sometimes just feels like the busy work that we have to get done. But it is so crucial. I think it's key to create documentation as you go along. This really ensures that team members can get the necessary information and context they need at any given time. We've had many customer calls, and customers tell us how Lucid has helped ease the pain of documentation for their teams. Building this documentation in Lucid is so much faster and more intuitive than other tools, and it makes it really easy to keep things up to date. Documentation also needs to be centrally accessible. I can't remember how many times I've had to, in the past go search for the right, Google Docs link or something like that, just to send it to the right team member. And people don't really want to have to deal with that whole requesting for access to certain documents or never really knowing the folder that something lives in. And so once again, this is where Lucid really, with our new feature capabilities, really kind of takes that to the next step. Jackson, do we want to take a look into that?
Yeah, that was exactly, where my mind was going, really thinking about sharing permissions and accessing documentation. So I want to circle back to the Team Hub we touched on earlier, just so we can talk through that in a little bit more detail. Once again, you've created your team, and with that, you now have your Team Hub. And so in your Team Hub, it's really your one-stop shop, really for all team documentation and resources. Anytime that you create a new document while you're in your Team Hub, it's going to give you a prompt to tell you that all documents created here are owned by the team. It's going to have the exact same sharing permissions as the team. So it really simplifies, sharing documentation with large groups. I can then create it and know that that is going to exist here in the Team Hub. I no longer have to click on the sharing modal and share that out with other team members. I think, another really cool thing is that as I'm working in my documents repository, my own personal documents repository, I can drag content over the little logo on the left-hand corner to be able to actually add documents to my Team Hub. That way, really everyone on the team owns that document and it lives within the team. So as team members move, they shift into different roles within the company, or maybe they leave the company, that document still remains with the team. You can really rest assured that everyone, continues to have access to critical documentation because there's shared ownership. It's no longer associated with one individual. So that's one area that I think that it really simplifies kind of the sharing experience, but also make sure that no documentation is lost as people kind of move throughout their careers and transition into other roles.
Okay, I really love how seamlessly the Team Hub centralizes your documentation and makes it easy to access. but I also love, love, love that you can use the team space as another way to centralize resources, particularly ones that live outside of Lucid. I know that my team in particular works in a lot of different resources with a lot of different assets. So this has given us a way to connect all of our systems of record so we have a cohesive workflow. Jackson, can you walk us through some of the examples of this?
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to show one of my team spaces just to show you some of the ways that we're really bringing this to life. I'll open up this team space here. First thing you're going to notice is that, we have, the content to, kind of capture our team culture. We have a shared calendar so we know when everyone, if someone's going on PTO and what their coverage plans are, obviously supporting multiple team members. But we've talked a lot about dashboards as well, that ability to embed, links to regularly used resources outside of Lucid. This has been so incredible for bringing new team members up to speed. As we onboard new team members, it's basically like a quick list of bookmarks that we have vetted that they should save. They can come in here without, scrambling, trying to figure out where everything is. Everything's easily referenceable right here. As you can see, one of my colleagues is actually in here right now. We can actually kind of, follow around and see each other in real time. It's so cool to be able to just, kind of all work in a shared environment, but also using embedded links. We have standards for our one-on-ones, and we want, everyone to have access to, a good framework for how we conduct those one-on-ones. Using these external tools. This is actually, a Google Doc. All I have to do is take the URL of another, document and paste it into our team space here. And we all have visibility to, kind of ways that we're approaching these regular stand-ups. Again, this really just kind of gives us a connection to all the different system of records we have, so that everything's cohesive, and just, keeps everything linked together. We already talked a little bit about the Jira integrations, but again, I mean, I don't think I could ever talk about this enough. I think that this is another great one. As we look at kind of, how we're managing deals or, managing projects, it allows everyone to, kind of strategize and come together so that we're working together and taking, these sticky notes, again, converting them into issues in Jira or whatever tool you're using. You can do that here, and it's actually going to reference it so that you can click on that and open it up, in whatever tool you're using. It is bidirectional, so I just do want to highlight that, if I were to change this from medium priority to highest priority, that's going to update in real time. I can come back here and you'll notice that this is already updated. So that ability to, really kind of work efficiently and not duplicate your tasks. You can do all of that work from Lucid, and that's going to update all of your systems of record. Those are things that we love, things that I hear team members rave about all the time. So really just want to highlight the power of being able to visualize team progress together.
I love all that. And I just love that I'm not chasing all this different documentation. I'm one of those people that would have a million tabs up, and I just feel like I don't have to do that anymore. And I just love that it's all connected in that way. It's really powerful. One thing that I've seen Jackson do really well from his template that he's sharing, or from his own team space, is fostering connection across his team. So in pivoting a little bit, we want to understand, or we want to convey how important having strong connections across your team is. But how do you actually build those connections, and how do you foster a culture of trust? This is another thing that I think became harder since COVID. So back when we were all in the office, my team was constantly chatting at our desks or during lunch or just stopping to chat in the halls. That connection was constant, and we didn't really have to overthink it. In a hybrid or virtual world, you have to be a lot more deliberate about it. And quite honestly, high functioning and coordinated teams have a foundation of trust. And that trust is built through these moments of connection. So it's really crucial that we make space for this in particular.
Yes, this one is so important, Tori. And you really would have thought that after a few years under our belt of being hybrid and remote workers, we really would have figured this one out. But for everyone, I think this is still an ongoing problem. So what are some of the things we can do to really encourage this connection among team members? I'll go ahead and mention a few, but I would love for people to also place some of their thoughts and ideas in the chat here as well. Alrighty. As those start filtering in, yeah, I love these mandatory icebreakers. I was going to mention that, asking how they're feeling. These are all great. Some other ones that I think we should bring up here are just like scheduling these regular check-ins, right? Really set aside some time for your team to do check-ins, whether that's through, virtual coffee chats or the brief stand-ups. These informal meetings provide opportunities for team members to really connect on a personal level, share updates that are outside of the work life, and really build that rapport that people need to foster that sort of trust that improves teams' collaboration and coordination with one another. Yeah, share more personal updates. Dedicate a portion of each meeting or team chats to really sharing personal updates and stories. This allows team members to get to know one another beyond their professional roles and strengthens those interpersonal connections, which is really huge. And I truly think team coordination goes to that next level again once you know your professional colleagues beyond just being a professional colleague. Finally, like really go ahead and make sure and make the effort to celebrate the achievements. This can be really hard in a virtual world because people want to be recognized for their accomplishments and all these things, and whether that could be reaching a new milestone for a project or like a personal triumph. Acknowledging these really boosts morale and reinforces that sense of unity. And this one can really be easy to overlook, especially when you're working, everyone's so busy. We're all working in like these fast-paced environments where we're always being demanded of more and more. But really taking the time to step back and celebrate achievements really, I think, from a personal level and a team level, helps really build that, you know, that trust, that rapport. And with our most, recent lately at Lucid launch, it was so important that the teams and that leadership took the time to celebrate the win that was that, big launch that we kind of had a couple months ago. And even though the teams were already busy working on new improvements and working on new features, we took that time to really slow down and reflect on what we had accomplished and, take some learnings from that. And as a team, we really were able to grow and feel a sense of accomplishment from there.
Yeah, I love all those suggestions. I think it's incredible, being able to kind of, bring this to life in the virtualized place. But even being able to kind of increase the participation with other features in the Lucid suite, like visual activities, or again, using AI maybe to kind of plan or brainstorm different, team offsites that you might want to consider. We can talk a little bit about, visual activities a little bit in the ways that I see this, breaking the ice or, measuring progress levels. Again, visual activities are indicated by this rocket ship. You can click on it. We give you quite a few different, quick starts, whether you want to filter by team building, identify who has the best fry in the state. Lots of different ways you can use it. It quickly breaks the ice, but obviously you can use this for, really great kind of meetings and workshops as well, estimating tasks, UX testing to see if a statement resonates with you, even being able to use these to share, externally with groups to be able to kind of quantify, different features your team is working on. But again, you can share these out with team members. I'm going to change my response here. I'm not just feeling lightly good. I'm feeling great. This webinar is, really, really fun. So I'm going to resubmit my response, and you can actually look at the results of the entire team. So, you can really kind of see where team members are at, whether they need a recharge day, whether we can step in and support each other, or maybe we're all just feeling, really incredible. So being able to see that and participate, when it makes the most sense for us. Being able to work with different time zones, I can come in here at any time and give an update to my team for where I'm at. We did talk a little bit about AI, and I know we have a webinar coming up for that in August, but I'm going to show you a couple things that my team uses as well. I think our mind mapping functionality is phenomenal. Our ability to be able to brainstorm maybe low cost company offsites. I'm just going to start there. We can actually click on these nodes and then expand with ideas. So quickly, I can kind of soundboard myself, different ways that, we could think about this. We can, prompt conversations within teams. You could even choose to use sticky notes and organize content. So, maybe we're looking at, we want to do a picnic. Another is that we want to, go to a movie. Maybe we want to go to the lake. Another is, card games. Let's just say that this feedback was coming from different team members. We could actually kind of, sort this by color. Maybe these are one team member and this is a different one because we do have those collaborator colors. We could sort it by color to understand, who's participating, or we could use generative AI to generate more ideas. Maybe we're kind of having a brain fart. We really need to just kind of expand beyond that thinking pattern. This allows me to really kind of expand my thinking process and understand how that impacts my team. Maybe we're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about bowling. I personally was on the bowling team in high school. I was a bit of a nerd. So, for me, I'm all about bowling. I wouldn't have thought of that before. But it really just prompts really great discussion within teams.
I love all of this. And I love the plugin for how Lucid is using AI. We actually will have a webinar in August, I believe. Correct me in the chat on that, Shannon. But we have one in August where you can learn more about this in particular. But I know that I enjoy having a little bit of help in those areas in particular. So thanks for showing us that, Jackson.
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, okay. So this has been amazing. We have come to the end. I hope you all feel ready to start your own team space and get your team members aligned. If you want to dive in further, we have some great resources for you that we'll post in the chat now, including a great course from my team that will walk you through creating a team in Lucid, building out your team space, and managing your team hub. It is going to hold your hand throughout it all. So from start to finish. So go ahead, jump into that course when you have some free time. It's going to help you a lot in getting started. So if we don't get to your question during our Q&A, or if you have questions as you dive into this team experience, we have started a thread in the Lucid community where our team can follow up with you. So drop in and ask us anything there. So now let's get into our Q&A. Okay, Lauren, it looks like you're actually answering this one.
Yeah, there was one interesting one that came up earlier that I'll
Yes,
talk
go
real
for it.
quick.
Yes.
First one was are new documents created within a team are new documents created within the team hub, or does someone create it in their existing folder and then move it to the team hub? Great question, and the answer is both. And so if you are in the team hub, you're part of the team already, you're in here, and you go ahead and click that new Lucid Sparkboard as Jackson's showing us here. This will prompt you and let you know that that document that you just created will be owned by the team, and everyone on that team will have access to that document. If you are not in the team hub during creation of a document and you're back at your home screen where your recent documents are, and you create a new board from there, that will be owned by you personally. And from there, you're able to drag that into a team hub. As well, if there's a folder like that just exists of yours, you're able to drag that into an existing team hub, which will then transfer the ownership to the team, and then all team members will have access to that document, and it will be owned by the team. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to call out. Oftentimes I'll work with other departments and personally have access to documentation that, I think my team, needs to have. Or maybe I start building in my own repository and then quickly realize, actually, I'm building this for a specific team. I can actually take this documentation, drag it over that tile. It's then going to let me know that it's going to change ownership and access. So it will become owned by the team. One other thing that you could consider, sometimes working cross-departmentally again, Maybe there's a leadership process improvement doc that I want my team to view but not own. I want them to just have visibility to it. It's really easy now that you've created your team to, at the document level, click on share. And if you know the name of the team you want to share it with, the one we created today is our Strengthening Teams webinar. I can actually click on that group and define what their experience is going to be like. So if I want them to have view-only access, I don't want them to actually be able to edit it, I can still do that. But I no longer have to remember every team member that's in that, in that team hub. I can share it with the team name. And what's really cool, I love this, is that when I come back into the team hub, you actually have a section for documents that are owned by the team and documents that are shared with the team. So that ability to be able to click into here and actually see the document you just shared with the team, it makes it really easy to centralize, all of that documentation.
Right. Awesome. Okay. We saw that there was a little bit of interest in the AI features. I called this out a little bit earlier, but just to reiterate again, we're going to have a webinar in August where we're going to be showcasing more of these AI features. So be on the lookout for that. One of the questions we also had was, do you have Teamspace templates? So we do. You can find a Teamspace template, I believe, in our template library, but we also will be sending out a template, the template that we were actually using and showcasing here in this webinar as well. So you have a couple of options there. And then what specific product in the Lucid suite allows for the creation of the team home base? So essentially, we can look at it in two ways. So Team Hub and Team Space. So the Team Space is a component of the Team Hub. So Team Hub is created from the logged in homepage, and then you can pin a Lucid chart or a Lucid Spark document to use as your team space within that. So that's kind of combines it all together. All right.
Yeah,
All right.
I think that's a great
yeah.
thing. As you're looking at, creating your team space, you can start small. It might just be, pictures to start and then start adding, resources that are in there and kind of build it out. It is a live, breathing document. So you may be starting with just a weekly stand-up and maybe that is your team space for now. All you have to do is create the document from here, in the options menu, make it your primary team space. And that can serve as kind of the the water cooler when you start. As you start to kind of build out that environment, and focus on including the elements we talked about today, you can change that as needed. The important thing really is just to start creating that culture and team visual. Start layering in different timelines and projects. Really just kind of adding those elements over time. Is really going to make sure that the resource feels alive. It's not static. It's changing with the needs of your team regularly.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you for adding that, Jackson. Okay. Answer or question for the crew here, Jackson, Peter. I think it's a clarifying question. So only Lucid chart documents can be hosted in the Team Hub, or can I put any type of document there?
Yeah, great question. You can actually have any type of document, both in the team hub and assigned as that team space. I think Jackson might show a quick demo here, but yeah, any document you really want to make that primary team space, whether it's a chart board or Lucid chart board or a Lucid Spark board, you're able to go ahead and just make that the actual team hub.
Yeah, so if you've started in Lucid Chart and you have a document that you think would be great to act as that team space, you do have the flexibility to be able to choose that from the options menu, making that the primary team space. My personal best practice or recommendation would be that Lucid Spark is going to be most collaborative and easy for you as a facilitator to understand where feedback is coming from within teams. But certainly, if you have documentation that you feel would be fitting for kind of that water cooler environment, feel free to make that the team space, and you'll find that that's easily referenced at the very top of your team hub.
Okay, awesome. So I'm not seeing any more questions popping up. So we'll give it a minute if there's anything else that anyone here wants to ask. If nothing comes up while I'm wrapping this up, just to give a couple of reminders, this webinar is recorded. You will be receiving a recording within a day or two to the email that you registered with this webinar for. We will be sending out additional resources as well, so be on the lookout for that. And we just appreciate you so much for taking the time and spending this morning with us. Or I guess wherever you're calling in from, it might be different time zones. So morning, night, we're just happy that you're here. So we hope that you can join us in the future for any other webinars we host. So thank you so much. Bye, everyone.